Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. Joining us today to talk about the use of vision AI in the livestock sector is Carlos Anchia. Carlos is CEO of a company called Plainsight, which is based out of San Francisco, California. Welcome, Carlos. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks a lot for having us.
So let's start with a general overview of how computer vision works. I don't want to get super in depth, but I think there's kind of a process that probably starts with some kind of collection of, say, an image or a data, and then kind of goes through there to get to that end value. Can you kind of frame that up for us, if you would, please?
Yeah, of course. And computer vision is a technology that's used to structure unstructured data. And typically that is an image or a video. So think of like pictures of the beach. You know that it's a picture of the beach by looking at it, but the machine needs to have some sort of context for what it's looking at. And that context it's given to machines by the process of computer vision. And it's through training models that are applied to that imagery. So then the next image that can be seen, it knows that it's a beach, right? So over time, there's something called supervised learning where you can teach a model, this is a beach, this is a ball, this is a dog. In its most simplistic form, it's that technology that's applied to images and video to be able to pull out the insights from that type of media and structure that data.
So you work in agriculture, but you also work in a number of different sectors. Tell us a little bit about those, and I think we've got a little video here to go along with it.
Yeah, so you're right. We do a lot of work in agriculture, specifically smart ag industry, where that industry is going through this transformational phase now around applying innovation and technology to a variety of things. Talking about livestock, the health of livestock, the rearing of livestock, welfare of the livestock, as well as planting and growing crops. But you're right. Technology that is used to structure that unstructured data is computer vision, and that goes across the different sectors. So we do a lot of work in ag, like you said, but we also do a lot of work in manufacturing, do a lot of work in retail, and a lot of work with other types of technology, other types of industries where they're going through this digital transformation change and need that computer vision component.
So how did Plainsight decide agriculture was a sector that they wanted to be involved in? What led to that?
So we really got pulled in. Right? There was companies in that space that were innovating and trying to apply the real value of computer vision to their processes to gain some efficiencies. And a customer came to us asking for help with doing that. And because we're really agnostic to the use case, we're able to really dive in and provide a lot of value quickly from the experiences that we bring from the different sectors. But with this specific case in livestock, it was around counting and wanting to be able to more efficiently count and account for their livestock. And from the computer vision portion, it really sounds simplistic, right? It's like count a sheep or count a head of cattle. It's very challenging when you're doing that as a human. And you need a way to have a count that then has a digital representation so you can have auditability. And it's important for the business to understand what it's receiving, how it's receiving. So it's really an inventory check.
Yeah, those sheep, they just don't all stay in one place, do they? They might turn around and go back, or they might be clumped in a way. So we'll talk more about that here in just a minute, and how you work around some of those challenges. But when we talk about livestock agriculture, I know one of your clients is JBS, which is one of the largest protein producers in the world. Are you able to talk to us and give us some insight without giving away any business secrets, kind of how they use that technology and what they're doing and kind of some of the things they're seeing perhaps in terms of advantages for computer vision in their operation?
Yeah, that's a good call out. So JBS is a very innovative company. They apply different technology across their value chain to be able to accelerate some of the revenue that comes from their traditional channels, but also to experiment in new technologies as well. So the counting solution that you're talking about, that is one of the solutions that have been rolled out, and it really helps them identify and account for the livestock that's coming in. Prior to computer vision, in a lot of places still in the world, it's really a pen and paper accounting where the shipper brings in the livestock. They say how many livestock they have, and they're counted by another human, and that's how they rectify the numbers. So it's really a way for that business to be able to digitize their inbound.
So we talk about this, the counting of the livestock. So tell us, how does that work? Are there sensors? Is there just a camera? What all goes into that? And also kind of, I'm sure people are wondering about the accuracy of that.
Yeah. So in the case of counting livestock, we're doing it with cameras, and they're cameras at the receiving locations. So animals are brought into the harvest facilities, and with cameras, they are accounted for. And it's all done in real time. So real time video is being processed, and we're counting in the case of cattle, the head of cattle, and tracking it over video in real time. That's all happening at the facility. There's no real need to transfer all of that data out of the harvest facility and into the clouds when you can perform that same task locally. So it's a camera, and it's a well positioned camera with proper lighting, and there's control over the process, and we're able to count at a very, very high efficiency rate.
So what about when you have, it's probably custom for each type of animal that you're each species of animal that you're counting, right? So if it was pigs, you'd have to go through a process that would be different from, say, cattle. But within a single species, does bigger and smaller, does that have any influence? And what about the speed of those animals and maybe how close they are as they're going through that counting area?
Yeah, that's a really good observation. So, counting livestock is very similar from different types of livestock. So, a head of cattle, a pig that's being received, or a lamb, that those types of livestock have a, a uniqueness about them, but there's a lot of similarities with how they're received. So, we take a lot of that learning and transfer that learning into each of the different ones. But you're right, the smaller animals, they move faster, they clump differently, and these are all areas for improvement where computer vision can have better yields when we have more exposure to that type of animal, or the difference in color. Those things have to be constantly added back into the model and trained to improve the model's robustness. We've gathered enough data now around livestock counting where we have really, really high accurate and robust modeling, because we get it in environments where there's low light, there's rain, there's snow, they're clumping together. There's a variety of different problems that could happen when you go to apply this technology in the real world. And by doing so is how the model gets to keep learning.
Well, probably also some of those things that you don't think about. You mentioned weather, but probably dust and mud and all that stuff too. You have to be very aware of the situation and keep good management practices in place, I would assume, right?
That's right. And Sarah, it's like every process. If you're going to go into some observation around a process, you really have to identify the different environmental concerns there and account for those. If something needs to scale on a 24/7 basis, you really need to start looking at the entire process over time. And you don't get those learnings. Like think of just sunny and snowy, right? You got to wait a year to get to some of that in the case of a production facility. But when you get to it, that's when you can now start adapting the model to be more robust in those situations.
So now Plainsight also has an application for livestock health monitoring, I believe. How does that work? What can be detected? Give us some insight on that if you would.
Yeah, so because we build custom computer vision solutions, and those solutions are applied to business, we have a variety of different areas that we have worked in. Animal welfare is one of them that's of top concern in the industry, and being able to identify gait in animals where one animal could be walking slower or more hobbled than the other animal. Those kind of things are difficult to detect in herds, but easy when you isolate the animal a bit, right, and have some subject matter expertise there. So having an automated way to identify that decreases the need of having that subject matter expertise always at the point of inspection.
What about the like measuring temperature of an animal, say to detect maybe some disease situation? Is that something that you get involved in, or that has is even a possibility at this point?
It is possible. So with cameras that are thermal cameras, that same imagery can have a computer vision model built against it to detect the change in temperature from animal to animal. And you're right. If the animal has, let's say, an accelerated temperature like a fever, right? Typically, that animal would be going through some sort of sickness, and you could identify that and start isolating it from the herd so you don't spread the disease and sickness across your herd.
Now, some of the, I think in that initial video I saw, you had some applications, say in a manufacturing type situation. Some of what our industry is involved in is like feed milling. So they've got a plant, and perhaps there's some employees that, maybe need monitoring, or maybe there's some safety issues, or there's some process controls. Give us a little detail on what might be some options for, that kind of a business.
Yeah. So in plants that are manufacturing and also have to do with the building and our food supply, you really have a variety of use cases where computer vision can take something that's traditionally just the video or humans looking at it and really provide insights and allow for that digital auditability that I was talking about. So think of a manual process of quality assurance where a human has to determine if this piece or part is good enough to continue forward. That could be done with computer vision. Being able to track if people are wearing the appropriate safety equipment. PPE detection is very big in manufacturing facilities. Dwell time, understanding how long people spend in a specific spot doing their job, that's also very valuable from the business side. And things that you don't even consider from the operation side, but as an HR and an insurance perspective, slip and fall is really simple to detect in computer vision models. Having a way to be able to go back and identify slip and fall incidents or activity based monitoring, that's where custom computer vision models really start to add back value into the business around being able to identify where in time and have that auditable record trail where the business can rely on instead of spending hours and hours finding video of an event.
So how does one best assess their needs for computer vision in their operation in their business? What and then from there, of course, your ROI, how much you're going to get back out of your investment. How do you go about looking at that as well?
Yeah, great question. And we spend a lot of time working with businesses around how to do this properly for them. And I can tell you, the moment we start having the conversation with business and operation and technical folk, we start getting a lot of ideas around where we can apply computer vision in their operation to either help with efficiencies in their plant, help with reporting, help with ROI. But I think it really starts with there's two components. There's the component of business and technical coming together, right? Because it is a technology that can be applied to business. Both business and the technology sectors of those business units have to come together to be able to identify properly the solutions that are best to work on. Right? Obviously, the higher value ROI ones, those would be great from the business side, but from the technology perspective, they may have a harder or larger lift to accomplish. So we try to counsel around, really understanding the business, understanding the different solutions that can come into the business, and starting small. Build a culture of success with computer vision that then allows you to take on these larger opportunities, these larger ROI cases. But you really have to start with deploying. You have to get models out in production so they can start learning.
So when you say that, what are you looking at in general, or maybe it's varies by business, but what about the average, say, length of time needed to put a computer vision application into an operation?
Yeah, and this is really our sweet spot, right? So traditionally, computer vision, depending on the type of computer vision and the use case that's needed, it's taken months to be able to get to a workable model that you can barely deploy. And then having to maintain that model over time, there's a lot of cost in the past of how to do that. Plainsight actually brings a platform and the expertise to be able to speed that up by orders of magnitude For a lot of use cases with the platform and the team, we can get to working models in less than a week's time. We can deploy in less than a day's time, given the right environmental conditions. So the business could be learning very quickly with the help of a trusted partner in that space that's a subject matter expert in computer vision. That's really where the value of the technology, the vendor in this case, or a partner come together and deliver that value back into the business. Like with anything, you really want to be able to test quickly and determine if it's viable. And, in the past, years ago, it took 3 to 6 months to get working models out. We're doing that in a week.
So any final thoughts, any words of wisdom, Carlos, for that you'd like to share with our audience?
I think words of wisdom as you go to look into your own business to identify how computer vision and vision AI can take hold of the problems that you're having and provide value. I think it's really important to find a partner. A lot of organizations don't have the expertise to build this type of technology themselves, and it's different than structured data, right? Find a trusted partner, whether that's Plainsight or not. We'd obviously love it to be Plainsight, but really go in, look for a partner that can engage with the business, understand the reasons why to do things, and have a success path. They need to be able to identify success in their past and a customer list, and then go after them and partner really well with them. Share some of your business insights and work with the technology partner to be able to enable and unlock some of that ROI, some of that operational efficiency back into your business.
So if you're looking for that partner and you're involved in agriculture, how important is it for that partner to have some kind of experience or some kind of insight into agriculture, into your business? Or is it something where this computer vision can be applied? It doesn't matter as much about the business side of what you're looking to do.
That's a great question. So, in computer vision is a bit different than every other technology. It has to have a little bit of context for what it needs to do. So think if and we can think of it in broad terms. So think of person detection for surveillance, right? That's great and a very generic use of that technology. But as you go into retail, you want additional insights. You want demographic, you want groupings, you want dwell times. So there's things that you learn in specific sectors that are specific to that sector, but they have a lot of transferability. We talked about dwell time in retail, but dwell time is also important in manufacturing. So there is a bit of transfer learning that goes from sector to sector, but there is some specific specificity in agriculture that you just can't get away from, right? Agriculture is really the only place where you see livestock. So having an experience with livestock and animal gait and monitoring, that is a leg up in that specific sector. But there's a lot of learnings that are transferred into each of the different sectors from learnings in agriculture as well.
So counting livestock's different than counting people.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, 100%.
100%. Carlos Anchia, thank you so much, CEO of Plainsight. We appreciate you being with us today. Thank you all for joining us as well. Until next time, for Feedstuffs 365, I'm Sarah Muirhead.